I welcome you all to today's class by Advanced English Language Academy. This is Yasin, your English language instructor. I hope all of my viewers will be fine. They'll be safe and sound. Today, I'm talking about passive voices of modal verbs, because in our previous video, I told you that you don't need to worry about tense. You don't need to think about which tense is this. Just by looking at the verb that's been used in the active voice, you can make the passive voice. So today we will talk about the passive voices of modal verbs. Now modal verbs, you know, modal verbs are can, could, should, would. These are all modal verbs. So I didn't talk about the future tense, because in future we use the modal verb well and would, these sorts of verbs. So if you just take it as a tip for future tenses also, that's also right. So let's talk about how will we change a sentence having modal verb to passive voice. So the structure pattern is, when we change the sentence having modal verb like can, could, should, well to passive voice, so we will use that modal verb in the passive voice, then be, then third form of verb, because in all passive voices we use third form of verb. So if you look at this, for example, this example, he should take the class. So should is the modal verb, okay? Now, as it is the structure of passive voices, that object will be placed or object will be put in the beginning of the sentence, okay? And then that modal verb should then be and taken by him, right? So you know the structure very well of the passive voices, that in passive voices we use third form of verb, then we use by if the subject is there in the active voice, and then we put objective case. We use objective case. So just look at this structure, modal verb plus be plus third form of verb. So if you look at this example, modal verb is should, then we used be, and then third form of verb, and then we change other active voices into passive. So the same procedure will be followed here, but just after the modal verb we'll put be, right? And third form of verb. Look at the next example. Now, as I told you that you can take it as a tip for future tenses also. So if you look at this sentence, for example, they will speak English. Just don't forget this formula, okay? That modal verb plus be plus third form of verb. So they will speak English. And this sentence, will is the modal verb. So English is the object. Obviously, it will be in the beginning of the sentence. Then will is the modal verb that's been used in the active voice. So we used it in the passive voice also. Then we used be, then third form of verb, and then by them, right? And just look at the last example. You can learn English, okay? Sorry, I forgot to put full stop here. So you can learn English. The modal verb is can, okay? Just like should is the modal verb here, and will is the modal verb in the second sentence. In the third sentence, the modal verb is can, right? So you can learn English. Now again, following the same structure, the modal verb can, then be, and then third form of verb, right? So English is object, so it will be in the beginning of the sentence, English. And the modal verb can has been used in the active voice. So in the passive voice also, we just used that modal verb can. Then we used be, learned American, learned British. So in American English, the third form of learn is learn, learned, learned, and British English learn, learned, learned, okay? Then by, then you. So the summary of the class is, don't just think more and more, don't get confused. Just look at this structure, verb that modal verb that's been used in the active voice. The modal verb that's been used in the active voice, use that modal verb in the passive voice, then then use be and then the third form of verb, right? And all the passive voices we use the third form of verb. There are other modal verbs also like can't, okay, like would, like so many, ought to. There are other modal verbs also. So apply the same formula. For example, if it is you can't learn English, so English can't be learned by you. Can't. English can't be learned by you. For example, it is negative. He shouldn't take the class. So the class, in the passive voice, it will be, shouldn't will be used in the passive voice also. For example, here, he shouldn't take the class, so the class shouldn't be taken by him. He should take the class, so the class should be taken by him. They will. For example, it is want, okay? It's negative. So want, when want is used in the active voice, so want will be used in the passive voice too. English won't be spoken by them, okay? Thanks a lot. See you next time. And if you liked our video, please subscribe to our channel.